the single ones. It's just a mess.
Do you watch anything on FX? Because that's part of this deal too.
Do I watch anything on FX?
Yeah.
No.
Not live.
But when I want effects,
Fact.
when I want somewhere where it's always sunny, it ain't Philadelphia.
No.
It's always sunny wherever you see a G, because the man carrying that G is the sunniest man that I know. We call him Mr. Happy. Sometimes it's none other than Aaron Nagler, a.k.a. Mr. Happy.
Who calls him Mr. Happy?
I just did. Hey, you don't want to know something? I hung Red Hot Tim Scott on a whim. It's Aaron Nagler, Cheesehead TV. Hey, how you doing, Haps?
I'm doing well, KB. I will say, speaking of Tim Scott, Tim tried to give me an intro much like you do every week in a meeting earlier today, and he failed miserably, like kind of just dove into the fire. That was kind of classic KB, but I'm not quite sure about the Mr. Happy thing. I'm glad to hear that that's what you speak about me behind my back, though.
Yeah, people say that. Aaron Nagler? Yeah,
Mr. Happy.
I don't refer to him. I refer to him as this charming man, not Mr.
Hey,
Happy.
there you
Hey,
go.
now.
Look at that.
Well, actually,
little
Mr.
Smith's
Happy's a
reference.
euphemism.
I
Yeah,
like
there
it.
you go.
I
There you
like it
go.
a lot.
Our conversations with Aaron Nagler, Mr. Happy, this charming man, sponsored by Miller Lite Orthopedic Associate of Wisconsin. There is a difference, and Rogers Behavioral Health. Okay, Nags, we're going into this weekend. It's the last weekend that we have to reflect on training camp and then start Bear Week.
Unbelievable. So happy. I'm so happy. Mr. Happy is happy. Come on now.
You're happy.
But
you're
is
happy.
this the longest 2 weeks of your life?
Yes, 1,000%. It's the worst because you go through the entirety of the offseason, which is the longest offseason in professional sports between games that matter, and then you get that kind of taste of football, right? Camp starts, you're all excited, and then preseason starts, and there's live hitting, and then you get that third preseason game, and it's like, oh, God, can we get this over with? And now you have this weekend where, yeah, it's great. I get my last kind of bit of time with my family, I guess. I mean, is that really something we all want at this point? And now it's just like that grind to get to next Sunday. That's all I'm living for. I can't wait.
All right. There was a time, Nags, when, we, as a Packer nation, the culture, everybody was obsessed about Jordan Love. He's kind of alleviated those concerns. People think he's going to be all right. KB, he's going to be fine.
He's going to be just fine.
He's not going to be a problem.
Said that.
Man,
right?
you guys have very different Twitter mentions than I do, but okay.
Really? Well, you must have Bears fans.
Yeah, there's a few of those, definitely.
Well, I just feel like if you watch him in the preseason, I know it's preseason and all the caveats and everything, but he looks fine. He looks the part of a QB1.
He looks like he can operate the offense, right? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't look too big for him. There's zero doubt about that. Yes.
And then
agreed.
we had this minor, this kind of like a little flare up with Anders Carlson making people nervous because all the guys are reporting all the misses that he had in practice
right
because of wind. And then that kind of went away. We're
Yep.
talking about practice. That went away, and he looks like, okay, he's going to be okay, right? I am worried, though, and maybe, Nags, you can confirm this, that as you're drifting off into slumberland
yes, sir.
On your Packers sheets and pillowcases, and you say to yourself, that safety is still a concern. That's the area of concern to me. And that is, they didn't address it, and it's just there. And almost every other position group, you say, okay, I can see it. They're on the come. They're betting on the come. They're betting on development.
Yep.
And at safety, they're just like, it's spit and duct tape, and we're hoping for the best.
It kind of is, right? It very much is. It's akin to, like in Empire Strikes Back when the Millennium Falcon is flying through the asteroid field trying to evade the Empire, and Han goes, he's going to try and hit the hyperdrive, and then the hyperdrive doesn't work, and then they're there trying to fix the hyperdrive while they're getting chased. I think that's going to be the safety position for the Green Bay Packers this year. It's going to be a lot of trying to do a lot of different things at once to try to stay out of the tractor beams, try and stay out of the lasers of the Empire while, making it work and getting where you need to go. But it's not going to be easy. There's no doubt about that.
They need a Rasul Douglas of the safety room. They need a pickup like that who can come in and look at this guy. We just found this gem here.
Well, here's the thing, though. Look, you say they didn't address it, which with the idea that they didn't use a first round draft pick or they didn't sign a big name free agent. You're correct in that regard. However, I will say they threw a lot of names at the position. There's a lot of guys in the mix, or there were. Now we know Travarius Moore is gone with an injury settlement, etc. But I will say, who knows what happens when things go live, and who knows how Darnell Savage and Rudy Ford respond. Jonathan Owens might get in the mix and do something. Anthony Johnson was looking better and better as the summer wore on. I'm not saying that that's all going to gel magically week one, what have you, but once things, like I said, get live and they're in the thick of it, so to speak, we'll see what kind of packages they have, what the rotation is, who's playing where. I mean, who knows if Darnell Savage is playing more near the line of scrimmage, where he has excelled a lot more in this scheme, and things could eventually work themselves out. But yes, if there is a spot, if there is a part of the depth chart where you're like, it's definitely the safety spot. No doubt.
I want to ask Matt Schneidman this too, but I'm going to ask you first.
Yes, sir.
Do you think the Packers will cover the middle of the field at all this year?
What are you taking notes from Corey Banke? Like, that has been his number one thing for years. Like, every time there's a completion over the middle, it's like, well, they're the middle of the field again.
You go.
I mean, it's somewhat, engendered in the 3-4 defense, which, yes, everybody plays some kind of different variation of this Fangio scheme, and we know that nothing is like cookie cutter, but more often than not, if you have a 3-4 and you're asking these guys to do various things, especially the inside backers, there seems to be, especially with the prevalence of so much cover 3, a little bit of a soft spot between that middle backer and that deep safety, where opponents seem to have a tendency to be able to complete the pass. Now, that said, well, it's a new year. We got Devondre Campbell ready to make amends for last season. We got Quay Walker with a year under his belt. I'm feeling bullish about the inside backer spot, and I think that will help in what you're talking about.
Well, that should, because KB just remembers the years that A.J. Hawk and then Blake Martinez led the team in tackles, most of them
12 yards
after an 11-yard gain on 3rd and 9.
And so help me God. If at any time during the Packers-Bears game I see guys on defense close to the line of scrimmage pointing at each other,
oh boy,
or instructing where to go pre-snap.
Hey.
I'm going to drive to Chicago.
To that point, new defensive backs coach Greg Williams should go a very long way in this regard. He has been drilling these guys day in and day out all summer. I've watched it with my own eyes to try to avoid exactly what you're talking about. The rules of the secondary have completely changed under Greg Williams. So I am hopeful. Now, my mantra this whole offseason is, but I got to see it in a game that matters. Like, to drill it is one thing, but to do it live when there's motion and they're adjusting on the offensive side, that is a whole nother ball game. All you got to do is go back and look at week 1 last year, where they completely got turned around by Justin Jefferson and company. I got to see it, but I will say they have certainly been working on avoiding exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
Talking with Aaron Nagler, Cheesehead TV, where all the cool kids get all their Packers information. What's cooking on the website this week? What kind of preview stuff are we looking at?
Well, we got all sorts of stuff in the hopper. We got new podcasts coming out. I'm starting Carry the G and MKE with Camille Davis. That's kicking off on Monday. We have a new web series starting right after the Bears game with your colleague, John Kuhn, and our guy, Dusty Evely. Packers Playbook will be breaking down important plays from each and every game on the Cheesehead TV YouTube channel. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Dusty? Is he
Dusty.
a camp chef?
Dusty's the man. You got to watch his stuff, man. You got to read and watch Dusty Evely. That's what you got to do.
I'm just kidding.
Rising star. Someone just texted, the barrister just texted the talk and text line and said that Chris Sims, noted NFL expert and analyst, has picked the Packers
colleague of mine
to win the division. He's carrying the G. He's got the Packers winning the division, and he said he's running to the local sports book and putting 100 on them at 300-1 odds.
I think that's a smart bet. I like the Packers' chances. Look, a lot of things got to break their way, but I mean, I know the Lions are Vegas like kind of darling.
The Lions
this
are
year.
starting 0-1. Can we just get that out of the way now?
It's probably
playing the Chiefs at home.
But that doesn't mean anything in the long run. It's not about how you start; it's about where you end. And I do think the Lions are talented and well coached. However, so much goes on in an NFL season, and you look at how the Packers undoubtedly have this team with so much youth on offense that will be developing throughout the year, hopefully getting better. Who knows on the defensive side of the ball? But they got as good a chance as anybody. And if you're throwing real money down, why? If you're a Packers fan, why don't you bet on the Packers? I mean, there's no way you can sit here and tell me that the Lions are going to run away with this thing, or the Vikings, for God's sakes, and don't even mention the Bears. I mean, yes, will there be tough times? Will there be ups and downs? No question about it. But I think the Packers will be right there at the end. And at that point, why? If you need to bet on the Packers.
I got the Vikings being 1-1 to open the season because they're going to beat Tampa Bay and then lose on a Thursday night at Philadelphia.
Most likely.
That Thursday to open your season and all the emotion that goes into Sunday and then play the first Thursday, that
turn around
sucks.
The very first Thursday, that's the worst. I mean,
now,
at least
the Packers are doing that with the home opener,
but the home opener,
week 3.
But that's at home. Yeah. Thank goodness, right? I like that actually, to get that out of the way, and you get the Lions, who have been tough against Matt LaFleur's Packers. There's no doubt about that. But to get that kind of short kind of thing out of the way right away at home, I like that.
But yeah, the Vikings and Eagles to me are getting hosed because, that
no doubt
when they have
okay with that
this Thursday, when we have the Chiefs hosting the Lions, almost seems like the first week they should just let that one be dark on Thursday and then crank up. Because
you would think
that's a tough haul.
But Drew, there's money to be made, sir.
I know.
There are broadcast rights. Let's go.
NFL season's got to start on a Sunday.
It should,
like that.
But it hasn't for a long time.
Hasn't for a long time.
I know.
How old are you, sir?
Yeah,
my goodness.
Exactly. Well, apparently I'm too old, but come on. Now.
Very old. But it
started on a Sunday.
And I'm not shedding any tears for the Vikings and Eagles because they're going to be fine. But that's a tough turnaround. And then I looked at it, and you're right, it is to the Packers' advantage. But they play their home opener, there will be emotion there, and then you come back on that Thursday, then you get that little mini break,
mini bye,
the Sunday off, and
then they have a somewhat later breaks as far as the bye week goes. So I don't mind. Having that kind of mini bye early in the season. Give yourself a little rest. Hopefully, you got to think at that point, already we're a little banged up. Every team is, and hopefully you get those kind of nicks and hurts kind of out of the way and rejuvenated, and then away you go. I don't mind
Speaking of banged up and nicks and hurts, where is Aaron Nagler? The Aaron Nagler meter on Romeo Doubs and his hamstring.
Yeah, that's a mystery, right? I got asked a lot about that in my chat yesterday. I will say, they're not going to say anything. I know Romeo begged off questions and said that's a Matt question. And then Matt was like, we don't have to give you an injury report, which is true. They don't have to give us an injury report until next Wednesday. So I think we'll probably have clarity maybe Monday or Tuesday. Maybe there'll be some reporting around it. I'm holding my breath a little bit. I got to be honest, because, hamstrings, you hate to see this close to the start of the season, and any soft tissue injury at a skill position player, you don't want to push it. You don't want these things to, creep up again and linger and then hurt them even worse. I mean, look what's happening with Cooper Kupp out in L.A. You hate these soft tissue injuries. You don't want to push it. I got to be honest. If he's not out there, say practice on Wednesday, I'm hoping he doesn't play because I don't want to make it worse, and I don't want to lose him for a lengthy period of time throughout the season. Now, of course, I want him out there against the Bears, but you got to be smart long term. But we'll see. Right now, I have no feel for it. Zero. Usually, they'll leave a couple breadcrumbs in the press conference, but this time I got nothing.
What does the offense look like if Doubs is sidelined for a week or two? Who is where? I mean, Reed is still the slot, and
Reed's probably still the slot. Big
outside.
Question is Wicks, because they love Wicks, but he's also dealing with injuries and a hamstring and etc. So I think Malik Heath gets a shot to get in the rotation. I don't think he plays a ton. I think they'll probably lean on a lot of 2 tight end stuff. Obviously, they'll lean on their running backs. Musgrave will be involved. Watson will be involved. But I tell you what, if both Wicks and Doubs are unable to go, you kept Malik Heath around for a reason. And it's because if we are down a couple guys, this next man up, he has earned that spot. He'll probably be out there. And I don't think they'll hesitate to use him in any way, shape, or form, given how he's responded every single time at every step of the way.
What do your numbers nerds say compared? Because you just threw something that made me think, okay, Packers in 12 personnel this year, and that's 1 running back, 2 tight ends.
Right.
That's nerdy, football nerdism.
Sure.
This year as opposed to last, will they pass last year's 12 personnel snaps by week 3, week 4 for the entire season?
But very early, probably. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because every time we're on a watch party, Corey always notes that when they have 2 tight ends, it makes him very excited. That and I formation. Those are his 2 things that he gets very excited.
Well, I formation's still kind of rare.
I know. Well, it's old school football, right? And
old school.
Well, here's the other thing. The Packers don't really have a true fullback again. So when they do go
Dylan can pass in I formation.
Well, now usually they use DeGuara, but whoever's out there. But and then the 2 tight end thing is interesting because I do think you're going to see a lot of plays drawn up for Musgrave, but I don't think he's going to be lined up in line like old school tight end style. I think you're going to see him utilized in the slot. I think you see him utilized on the perimeter basically like a wide receiver. And on those occasions, I think you will see either Tucker Kraft, Josiah DeGuara, somebody lined up in line traditionally as a tight end. So it's a way to play, kind of cat and mouse with the defensive coordinator when you're in the huddle and you see those 2 tight ends. Well, how do you respond as a coordinator? Do you want to put your nickel or dime out there because you think, they're probably going to spread those guys out? Or do you go heavy because you think, they're probably going to try and run the ball?
I want to see a backfield with DeGuara, Dillon, and Jones in a wishbone.
So now you're answering that question of how old you are. That's good. I like it. I'm down with it.
You got to come back and bring some of that old stuff out.
I'm with you,
freak
man.
out. They won't know what's
Andy
going on.
Reid does that every once in a while. He'll go back and pull out some Army Navy tape from 1928.
All right, to the point though of the tight ends, like if you're going to put Musgrave wide, perfect, because then linebackers too slow to cover him and cornerbacks might be too small. Whatever, right?
That's the idea.
But those guys, in terms of lining in line and then going out, are they going to get chipped? Are they going to be able to handle their business? If they have to chip somebody on their way to a route, is that where?
Let me tell you something. Drew. That's where you may have a couple "Welcome to the NFL" moments for the rookies. That will undoubtedly happen. Hey, look, as long as it doesn't blow up your play, that I'm fine with it.
But that can be everything. Like the timing of those plays that. Them getting floored or I could see that happening.
Hey, that's going to happen. This is what I keep talking about too, right? Like we are in for a lot of that this year. It's inevitable, right? In my mantra I keep saying to Packers fans, don't get frustrated by it. The key for all of that is, do they learn from it? That's what this whole year is about, developing, especially these young guys on offense. How do they get better each and every week, each and every play? Do they learn from those moments? That's what 2023 is all about.
Fantastic. Nags, what do you got on tap for Labor Day? How are you going to spend? It's going to be hot this weekend.
Going to the Bronx Zoo tomorrow. Going to the Bronx Zoo with the girls. We always do this like Labor Day weekend. It's kind of their way to say goodbye to Dad for football season. So we're gonna spend the day at the Bronx Zoo. Yep.
There you go.
Spend the day at the Bronx Zoo. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Can't wait.
Oh baby. All right. Have yourself a good time. We will chat with you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend carrying the G.
Have a good holiday, guys. Talk to you next week.
You bet. Aaron Nagler, Cheesehead TV's